Good evening all. Welcome to latest Livestream. As you can see, Steve is running late. Jay's just about here on time. And we've got a special guest, the guy from Kraken Corals. So Dom will be familiar to a lot of you. Dom was on the one of the very first live streams we did. But we got someone else who works from Kraken as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Jamil. If you've been to Kraken, you've probably seen me. If you haven't, then why haven't you been?
Very fair comment. So we've got the guys on this evening. They can only stay for about 45 minutes to about 8:45. But we thought it'd be really good that we all managed to meet up last week at Kraken, which was fantastic for us because we certainly met for the first time. So that was me, Ross, Jay, and Steve. So that was after 5-6 months of reefing together and live streaming together. We came face to face, but we'll get onto that later on because we're here to talk to Dom and Jamil. So in terms of Kraken, first of all, how was it for you guys in the shop and store in terms of setting it up and the days itself?
We don't have to do anything.
Yeah. It's not stressful, but it's time consuming. It is. You get to feel a little bit of pressure to get ready. As we know, keeping fish is unpredictable. Thankfully, everything went smoothly this time. But it takes some work getting the shop ready. It's not just the shop; it's all the promotion, getting the stickers done. There's loads to do. So, but it's worth it in the end. See all the new faces and meet new people.
Yeah, I got to say, it's the first visit I had to the shop, and I thought it was a superb LFS. So really well kept, really well stocked, and I was surprised how big it looked as well. I mean, obviously it's almost an L shape and a little J, I suppose, isn't it? I thought it was excellent the way you got all your fish together, and then the coral trays. I know you probably filled them up for the event, but really good range.
We try to keep them about that full all the time, to be honest. We don't let them run down too much.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really good range, from Zoas to hammers to SPS trays, and then masses of fish as well. We had loads of, I think, fish stock, and then some really good displays. There was, was it the S1000, the Red Sea ones? You come in.
Yeah. It's a big old tank. It's only been there for 2 weeks though, so we were lucky to get it in time. To be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing is, though, the photos don't do that tank any justice. That's what I was saying when I was down. That tank is absolutely massive when you see it in person. But in photos, I mean, it looks quite deceiving. You look at it and you think, oh, is it a 4-foot, 5-foot tank when you see it? But then when you see it in person, it is massive.
It'll take some filling.
Yeah, it's a 7-foot tank, isn't it? And it's got an aluminium stand as well.
2 and a bit, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys kept reminding me that the ATO top off. It's like twice the size of my tank, and they kept going, you know what, you need to upgrade. The ATO is bigger than your tank.
There's room at least for a 4 foot behind you there, I think.
Yeah, I know. I am coming to you, Dom, for my next tank. But yeah, 3 or 4 foot. I think is next.
We've been having that conversation, haven't we, about what kind of weight can you have on a first floor?
Yeah.
The key way to find out is how many people can jump up and down in one corner of your room before they fall through the floor.
Trial and error is best way, in my opinion. It's too heavy if it's gone through the floor.
I'm hoping I can get a 250. I'd like a 300. You know, the Red Sea Reef for 300. I like that, but I don't know.
You should be all right.
So if the floor can't take 300 kilos, then it's not a very good floor.
That's the way I was looking at it. If you take the weight of a big bed, by the time you take a king size or a super king size bed, and then put 2 people in it mass size, that's way over a 500-600 litre tank. So
well, all I can do is I can invite you lot round for tea.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just like, how come everyone in reefing is like massive? You're all like 6 foot and stuff like that. I felt so tiny. Like everybody's
so we can see the top
massive.
of
the tank. I loved it, Dom, and when we were there, the thing that made it for me really was your staff. Your staff are just so welcoming.
Yeah.
And everybody's willing to help you, chat, your wife behind the till. It's just got a magical atmosphere in there, and you you've created that as a business, and I think it's brilliant. You feel supported, you feel welcome. The minute I pulled up, you were like, "Come on, get out of the rain and come and come and make yourself at home, make a brew, have a cup of
It's
tea."
like that every day of the week, to be fair. It's not just a one-off. That's how we always are, or try to be.
Even if we're grumpy, you won't know it when you come in here.
Every single one of you made it. Honestly, the staff are incredible. But I'd love to have gone around the warehouse bit as well. I'd like to have seen there, because I bet that's full of goodies, that is.
Yeah, your sticky fingers.
Yeah, you can't let everybody in there,
I know.
You have to remember the next time you're in.
I bet it's a treasure trove in there. I bet there's all sorts of nice stuff.
So for those people who haven't been to Kraken, you've got the actual shop on one side, haven't you, of I suppose a little estate, and then on the other side of the car park is your warehouse.
It's like a warehouse and office in another unit. Just because during COVID we got that busy online that we needed more space, basically. So we took another unit on over the road just for offices, and that let us make the shop that little bit bigger. My office was in here, but we ripped that out, took the wall down, and put an extra tank in.
Kraknas were definitely more difficult when the shop was smaller. You really were cramped. If it felt packed this time, they were worse previously.
Yeah, I thought it was just about right in terms of you can move around the store, you can have a look, and then you can talk to people and stuff like that, and you can pop where your reception area. That's quite a nice area as well, where you could get a group of people to talk. So I thought in terms of the number of people on Saturday when we was there, it was just a nice size, I thought, for the amount of people. It was just really good catching up with a lot of people that we see on the live stream here, amongst other people, as well as meeting one another. And despite me personally having to travel 10 hours in the car that day, it was well worth it. So I really enjoyed it. And also, thanks for your hospitality. So that was excellent. But one of the questions I've got to ask you is about stickers. How many different stickers have you got? You've seen that loads coming up.
I've already got some new ones on the way.
There's been quite a few.
I was actually looking at mine today. I must have, I don't know how many different ones. I've got loads of different ones today.
I've got to make an album at some point so you can collect them.
I'm not sure anybody's actually got all of them.
Even I don't have all of them.
We don't keep some of the early ones, and I've got them stuck to like barrels and stuff, so they don't really count.
So I've got 10 different ones here in a pile of all different kinds. 10 of them.
But I don't think it's all of them.
Nah, it's not. Oh, this was an unusual one. I was quite surprised with that one.
Yeah, there's two that are similar that came out at the same time like that.
But yeah, there's some cool designs.
So do you plan for any special edition ones to tempt people to pay over a certain amount or something like that? Gold ones.
We have done some shiny ones that he won't have, and some glitter ones that he won't have. Really small numbers we do.
To be fair, the Krakna one was only for a weekend, really. So that's quite limited.
I asked Dom for the first one, but he wasn't willing to part, because they're always the valuable ones, the original one.
Do you know what? We had a parcel come today, and it was a parcel of mugs and sweets and stickers I sent to Poland months and months ago, and it had some original stickers in it, and they came back because they got lost in the post.
Happy days.
That's just rubbing it in now, that is. I'd love one of them.
Original pink sweets and some original stickers in it, so I might have to root them out.
The pink sweets were good, actually. I like the pink ones.
The pink ones. They're the same flavour as the yellow ones, but everybody thinks the yellow ones are lemon.
Oh, I thought the yellow ones were different.
No.
Here we have a reefing channel talking about stickers and sweets and rock.
Yeah, it's psychological. That those different coloured sweets make you think they taste different.
So you're saying it was busier pre-COVID? Is that right? So you had it busy before?
We put this one over 2 days to make it less busy for a startup.
Yeah.
Some people are still concerned about COVID. So some of the meets that we did prior to COVID, so a couple of years ago, I couldn't get from one side of the room to the other. I had to go outside and come in the back door.
Wow.
But the shop was also a little bit, probably a good 20% smaller, so it's hard to judge numbers-wise if it was busier or quieter.
There is usually a lot more people with frags. For some reason this time, I think people just wanted to size up the shop and see what the event was about. Quite a few of our regular goers didn't turn up this meet, but it's been crazy few years, hasn't it? So we'll see what happens in the next one.
Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it? Because I know people that wouldn't go to a shop if it was packed or anything like that.
No, and it has
Because of
been
our culture,
overly busy for some people in the past, so that's why we stuck it on 2 days.
We did hear some customers looked at the car park and turned around and went back again. They didn't know the
Did
event
they?
was on. They did. They came back early in the week.
It was my first ever coral show, and I absolutely loved it. But I wasn't sure because obviously, with it being my first one, I didn't have anything to swap. So when they were saying a frag swap, I was like, am I going to be all right going without any coral?
Yeah, it's a misconception, but you actually have to bring anything. We understand people are just setting up. They're new, so you're more than welcome to purchase from other reef keepers because everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, and you had so much choice in your tanks as well. You've got loads of corals there as well at the same time as the. There's too much choice. You don't know what to get. That's the problem.
Choice. You just have to buy more until the choice is gone.
I wish I had Steve's budget. My budget was like 200 quid. He had like 500 quid or something ridiculous. He did. Did you end up spending all your budget, Steve?
Close.
That's a yes. Because it's being recorded, isn't it? You can't really say how much he spent. Is it £50, Steve?
Can't disclose the spend. What do you think? What do you think to Max Nano, Dan? You like it?
Well, you saw this one last time. It's growing out nicely now.
I know. Yeah, it's looking better than mine. To be fair, it's much higher up.
We don't do anything with it.
They run themselves, don't they?
Huh?
Yeah. You know what? I was going to buy one of them, but the prices are just insane.
Expensive.
And it's
Well, they're now about 600 new.
More than that, mate. I think they're more than that. No.
What's that?
They're just.
How much are they for the cabinet?
800 to 900 quid.
Wow.
Yeah, they've gone up a jump in last year.
Have they?
Yeah.
I bought mine from Kraken for 550. 550.
Wow.
Mine didn't have the cabinet.
Yeah.
Was that cash though,
The
Jay?
cabinet, I think, is about 200 quid. So if you can get something alternative to put it on, it's a lot better value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you don't necessarily need the cabinet, do you?
No, anything's stolen.
900 with the cabinet now, 700 without.
Wow, that's gone up 150 quid on the one that I've got here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's made out of the same glass. It's made out of the same adhesive. It's made out of everything. It's just the shipping. That's what it is. It's just
shipping, yeah.
Is that what it is? Import and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think last time I spoke, the container price of a 40-foot container has gone from $2.5 grand in December to about 18.5 now. So, that's a lot of money. And you can't get a lot of fish tanks in a 40-foot container either. You maybe get 100 in there at best.
Yeah, but quick question, old Dom. Yeah, if that's £150 on the tank. Yeah. So how can they justify it? So if they just say, for instance, they packed a whole shipping container full of those nano tanks, does it justify putting £150 just on the tank, on one glass tank? Do you know what I mean? It can't be that.
They're not going to bring a whole container in of these though. It'd be 100 tanks ish of mixed sizes. So they'll have 5 or 6, 7, 4, 2. They'll have the 4, 2, 5. So I think what they do is they take that 18 grand and do it by the square footage.
Right.
The other thing as well that I've noticed is companies like that have to pay a lot more for materials, aren't they? So I mean, their glass, everything that they're buying is a lot more expensive now as well. So
all the parts to put it together will have gone up as well with the shipping costs. So it all knocks on. It's a snowball, really.
Yeah.
So do you envisage them getting more expensive then? Or do you think they'll drop again?
I think these have gone up twice this year.
Even just a chip shortage. They're struggling to make anything electronic, cars, everything. So
it's why
supply and demand.
There's going to be no new products coming out this year, probably next year either, because people can't innovate and make new stuff when they haven't even got the parts to make the old stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to slow things down a little bit.
Goodness me.
So Dom, what's your best-selling tank? Is it that one behind you?
This one? I can't say what was we sell a lot of lots of tanks, to be fair. There isn't one that's better than the other. We sell quite a lot of the little water box ones, a lot of these. Obviously, probably the Fluval Evo we sell more of than anything else. We buy it by the pallet because it's a small, easy tank to
start. It's a gateway tank. It doesn't last people long. Some people buy a bigger tank within the week.
Wow.
And I suppose the price isn't too bad if you compare that one behind you, even though it's
Yeah,
bigger
you
and
get a
arguably the
fluval
quality.
Evo set up and running for maybe 220, 250 quid with fish, so it's fairly cheap to get into.
Yeah.
Not like
Is there any? Have you got any plans to stock Cade tanks?
I'm waiting for the price list.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know they're coming over to the UK soon, and I am interested in having one of those, doing something different.
Yeah, I think the container's already landed.
Yeah.
I know they're at the show on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day the Telford trade show's on. They're there this week.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting for the price list from there, and then we can have a look at it.
You know what? I'm thinking I'm going to get one of them if the price is not too steep. Yeah, but only the nano version, Jay. That's all. I'm going to get the small one.
Hell, he wants me Pikachu.
They have to pay 18, 19 grand for that container as well.
Yeah. So where the Cade ones made? Are they made in China as well, or just somewhere else?
Yeah, everybody's made in China, I think, these days.
Are they based in Australia?
No, they're Chinese. All Chinese. Yeah.
So they do look really well made. They look like quality cabinets, and then the way the electrics on the side and stuff like that, and all closed off, they do look good.
And look at that. Electrics on the side is a good idea as long as you can change which side it's on. I looked at the 7-foot one, and the electrics are on the right-hand side, which is no good for me because that's a blank wall.
So
I'm not 100% sure on the details until we get more info this week. I've seen a brochure already floating about, but I've not seen any prices yet, so I'm just holding on to them. We'll see what we do.
Possibly Cade. Anything else new coming out, Dom? Is there anything else new, did you say, or?
No, only obviously Reef Factory bringing out their lights. They come out next week after new lights.
Yeah.
But generally this year's been slow for new stuff because they can't even manufacture the old stuff.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed with the Reef Factory lights, the ones that you had over the tank when we were in. I think you've got some prototype ones or something on the.
I have one of the test versions. And there it is. It's a powerful light. I've got the prices now, and the prices are good. They're easily comparable with other big brands on the market, so they're going to be a good thing to have.
Yeah, they do look good. Then they do look good.
Yeah.
I know they're bringing out a blue version later on in the year or beginning of. I think it's scheduled in for January now, so they're going to have one with bluer spectrum and blue. The actual physical body's going to have some blue elements to it as well. If you fancy something a little different.
You know what it is with Reef Factory? It's like they don't take the time in making products, do they? They're just like, boom. There's like 16 products or something that they've just hit out within the last year and a half, 2 years. It's just like, boom.
Don't know when they're going to stop. Surely they'll run out of ideas shortly.
I know, yeah. But it's like, I mean, you heard of like Ecotech, or you heard of like all the others. They make like one product in like 2 years R&D, and they're like, we're researching, developing, and this, that, and the other. And it takes 3 years to develop a light, a good quality light. And they've done like 16 different products in the past 2.5 years or something, 3 years. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? They must have had them in the pipeline.
I think a lot have been in the pipeline for a while.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I think they've just been holding them back. They've definitely started beta testing stuff more now. I don't think they're just looking at something and trying to speed it out, but I couldn't say for definite. I think they are just trying to get a foothold in the market because it's hard. If you only have one product selling, there's not much money in it. So you have to have a range.
Where do they make their products? Are they made out of? Because is it a
Poland.
Polish company?
It's based in Poland. Yeah, so they're manufactured on site, so they have control over most stuff that they do. Which I guess that helps them turn things over faster because they're manufacturing there and then.
And there's quite a big manufacturing process in Poland. Isn't there? They can probably get hold of raw materials, maybe not the electronics, but other stuff that they use, and then transport wise, it's by road, so it's not going to take anywhere near as long as from China, is it?
No, they've got a good technology stack as well, so all their technology is already built effectively. So if they want to release a new product, they don't have to do too much IT wise to put it on the wrap and to spit it out. It's fairly easy for them to do.
Okay, so they've got standard connectivity that they can just transfer that to the different kits. So it's basically the actual kit itself, and not worrying about the rest of it, how you connect Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. They use the same parts for that. So
Yeah.
What can't you get enough of, Dom? What do you buy and just fly straight out at the moment?
everything pretty much.
Serious?
I know. I know.
I know. I knew you'd pipe up here.
I know what you want.
High range, Hannah. Bloody
They do
reagents.
not. They'll be here on Monday. Here on Monday.
I think that's partially to do with Hannah. I think they bring a new product out, and then
How's Ross got them?
not prepared for the demand.
How's he got them?
It can't be
Just
tested
tell
very
you one
often.
at £10 a packet if you want one.
I think Ross is sponsored by him then if he's got them because you can't get them for a lot of money.
No, I bought them off Dom.
The website's going to go down on Monday when Dom puts them back on.
Honestly, if I get something, I'm going to get stocking on Monday. They'll be gone by Tuesday. I'll order some more Tuesday afternoon, and Hannah won't have any.
No.
And then I'm going round in circles again.
I need a pack, mate. I need a pack. Say, I've got two left. I'll pay you
website.
I'll pay you 40 quid. I don't care. I need
We'd like to say we keep you on, but none of us will remember.
What time's the website get updated, Dom?
When they get delivered.
Ah,
Right, as soon as they get delivered, as soon as anything comes in, we anything that's pre-ordered online, we send it out, and anything that's left goes straight to stock. So
I think you can back order them online, can't you?
Yeah, you can order them. If you order them now, we'll send them out Monday.
There you go. Get them ordered now. Is there a certain time you update your website, or is it constantly updating whenever stock comes in?
Whenever stuff comes in, we try and update straight away. To be fair, we don't hang about.
It's fair enough. So Dom, just a quick question on here. Do you seed your own live rock in store? So when people buy tanks, they can go home with more than just dry rocks. They've got something to help seed and kickstart the tank.
To be honest, with the bottle bacterias nowadays and a little bit of patience, it does do as good a job. The problem with seeding dry rock is obviously it puts the price up significantly, and having room to do it also. It also needs maintenance. It needs water changes and stuff. And just as you could tell when you were here, we haven't got much room for that.
No, fair point.
And like I say, with patience, I used to think the bottle bacterias were snake oils, especially when I dealt with tropicals. But now with the newer ones, we've used it time and time again. And as long as you use them as they tell you to and be patient, then you shouldn't have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I find it's not the cycle that's the issue when you're using dry rock. It's when you start going further down the line and you've done the cycle, and then you switch your lights on, you're putting stuff in it, and all of a sudden you've got white rock or real reef rock.
Yeah, it can be controlled. Like I said, this is where the patience comes into it. I think a lot of the Marco varieties of rock and white rocks do leach a little bit of phosphate, so you have to be cautious of that.
Yeah.
Real reef rock in the past and had no dirty phase whatsoever. So it just comes down to what you start with and just monitoring your tank. A lot of people don't actually test, until a lot further down the line, and you really need to be checking your nutrients fairly early on to control that.
I think you're right, especially around patience, because the last tank I done, that's a bit unusual and it's a bit boring. But I left the lights off for the first 8 weeks, and then to put bacteria in and build it up. And then my ugly stage after that, after 7 or 8 months, was hardly anything. Had hardly any green hair algae. But of course, if you're starting up your tank and it's in your living room, this was in the garage, so it made no difference in the second tank. But if it's your main tank, you don't want to sit there with the lights off and nothing in there. What's the point? So I get why people want to use colony and stuff and get it going from day one.
Yeah, of course.
You get some livestock in there and everything else, don't you?
I think if it's your first tank, you're worse. I mean, me setting up that marine tank that I've got here was my first marine tank, and I was desperate to get everything going quick. Whereas I think now, if I was to do a second one, you'd be quite happy to wait months to get livestock in it. Whereas you just want it in straight away when it's your very first tank. So I think
it's swings and roundabouts. There is benefits to maturing it without livestock in there and using other sources, but you're going to end up with a dirty tank to start with, because once your ammonia's been broken down, it's turned into nitrates, and most people won't do a water change until all the ammonia's gone, and they've got off the scale nitrates by that point, in which case your rock's probably absorbed some and your tank's filtered to start with. Whereas if you do it with fish in with a good product, you're controlling your nutrient levels more. You're monitoring them from the get-go, so you're not just breaking down whatever amount of ammonia you're putting in there, which is usually too much for most tanks, and ending up with 100 plus nitrates by the end of your tank maturing. Then you've got to do a whole water change and catch up, basically.
I did it the old school way in my 170 with the old trusty prawn, the prawn way.
Yeah.
That's what I did, and it just like it took what seemed like an eternity. In fact, it was an eternity. Actually, it was like you put 8 weeks or something, 7-8 weeks, and I was testing it every day. And I was driving my missus mad with it. I'm only on nitrate, and it was just and then all of a sudden, like literally within a few days, it just like and leveled itself out. Everything, you know what I mean? So it was just about patience.
That's it. As long as you don't overdo it with your ammonia source, you should be okay, even doing it fishlessly. Yeah. As long as you're patient enough. But in this day and age, nobody's patient.
I'm not patient. I just set my tank up in a day, threw corals in, fish in, rock.
We're all used to getting deliveries next day.
It's the Dom. I was going to ask Dom if his skull is for sale.
Which one?
That master one that you always take pictures of and make me jealous.
No, you can't have that. You need a bigger tank, and then you can have. I'll tell it to you there.
It's a stunning piece. That I know it's one of your favourites in your collection. Into that one.
But everything's for sale in the fish shop.
It's absolute beauty. That is. It really is.
Good price.
If you want.
I heard there was a special fish that was not for sale though.
A fish? Yeah. Oh, I'm not allowed to sell that one.
That's the one.
No, I can't get rid.
So what one's that? Was that in the display behind the counter?
Yeah, behind the counter there's a Vermitige tang in there, which the missus is fond of. If I sell that, I'll have no testicles. It's that simple.
Enough said.
It boxed me for 3 days when I moved it from one tank to another. So
it's a big old fish, isn't it? Is it about 8-9 inches?
Yeah, it's a big.
Longer than that. Bigger than that. Huge thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big fish.
And how long have you had it? Have you had it since a juvenile, or?
Actually, we got it off a customer who bought it from a shop, and it was far too big for their tank. I don't know why they got sold it in the first place. That it was always going to be too big. They'd only had it for a couple of months, and it outgrew. What were they in a 170 or something?
No, they were a 4-foot tank. I think they were just thinking ahead a bit. It came in maybe that sort of size, but it was growing rapidly, and within a couple of years. Yeah, it's now probably 10 inches or maybe 12.
It's a bit like the Regal tangs, isn't it? Because you've got some Regal tangs that look like the size of 50p pieces. Yet within 12-18 months, they're 4 or 5 inches, and they can grow to about a foot at max. So you think about how people see that, and you think, oh yeah, you can put that in a 170, no problem. And then before you know it, it's touching both ends.
We had a customer in earlier who's only got a Flubel Flex, which is what? How big are they? They're not a big tank. They've got a Regal in there. I don't know who sold them that one. It wasn't ours.
Yeah.
Some people are adamant on having them.
You know what people do? It's like with tanks. Say for instance, a 170. They buy like a Regal tank, or they buy a yellow tank, or they buy a Chevron tank. When they're tiny little things, with the impression that they're going to get a bigger tank, and then when that falls through and they don't buy one, my mate did it. You know what I mean? And he was like, and then the tank police were onto him because they were like fully grown, and it was in like a 170, or 200, and it's like you can't do that. And then you got
that's everybody's story. When you work in the shop, you get all the time. I'm getting a bigger tank. You've got to make sure.
I get a bigger tank. I get a bigger. Well, people's circumstances change, or they might lose the job or whatever, or they just say, "I can't afford one." Do you know what I mean? And that's what it is.
People don't realise how attached to fish you actually get. It's not as easy to get rid of a fish as you think.
Absolutely, yeah, you do. I mean, when they jump out of my tank, I'm devastated. I was like, how the hell? You're like devastated, and I'm like, how the hell? You try and make the tank as safe as you think you can, and they just somehow find that little gap, that little half an inch, and they jump through it. You know what I mean? And it's annoying and frustrating, but it happens, doesn't it? In all of our hobby.
The one thing I didn't realise.
Half an inch, mate.
I was going to ask
Jay,
you
you should know, Jay.
Here we go.
I was going to ask a question, Dom. So obviously, I don't really know much about these frag shows. The people that are selling, do they pay to be there as well? Then do they pay a little bit of money to you to be there, or you can just turn up and make money?
No, they just turn up generally, as long as they know there's not another shop. If they're just a refill, you know, 'cause generally you sell a few frags to your mates, or you can buy your carbon and your other stuff that you need to run your tank.
Well, we try to promote trading as the primary way of doing it, but obviously some people don't have frags. It's not something we can really control, and we're just relying on people not taking the mick, really.
Yeah.
So we don't want people setting up business in here, but again, some people want frags they can't swap for. It's always nice when you want to swap for something, and in previous frag meets, people will just take whatever or give it to you. In fact, there's some really generous reefers out there, really generous.
Yeah. I was just interested. I was wondering how it works.
I would have bought that torch from you. That torch that I got, and that gold hammer, cracking, absolute top pieces. They're thriving in my tank now. I love them, absolutely love them. Can't wait to stick them on the rock. Yeah, absolutely. They just settled straight in and they were open straight away. You know what I mean? Really nice coral.
Happy days.
So do you guys take corals off of people that will come to trade as well? Will they trade with you, or is it mainly just for public?
There's quite a lot of that this weekend because there wasn't many people trading, so I felt a bit like CEX for people trading in corals. I tried my best to get people left happy, I think. Yeah.
We'll trade. I've bought pieces and put them in the display tank in the past as well, because sometimes people bring corals that we don't have or can't get. And when we order corals in, we don't generally, although it's getting more common, we don't have all those fancy names on our list. It just says chalice. We don't always know what it is. And if it does say what it is, I'm getting stung for it financially. So it's nice to see.
It's surprising what's in people's tanks that we take for granted that shops actually struggle to get, like some coloured digis or even xenia is really expensive for us to buy from suppliers. But when people bring it into us, they think it's a weed.
I'll bring a bucket in.
That's what I mean. But if we were to go to suppliers, it doesn't travel well, so it's really expensive to buy from suppliers. But when people trade it into us, we're happy, they're happy, and we can do it cheaper. So
I didn't realise that, because you see, certainly where I people give it away because it grows really quickly. But I can understand why it doesn't travel well, because the nutrients go down, and it likes nutrient-rich tanks, doesn't it? The dirty.
There's a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of coral is sent fairly dry overnight. So some softies don't appreciate it at all, or they're in very little water to save on the weight of shipping. So they don't appreciate it.
Yeah. There's a question here from Port UK Reefer. Where do you get the majority of your wild caught corals? Is it Indo?
Most of the Indo stuff is maricultured anyway, so it's all farmed. So it's less wild and more farmed. Yeah. But I would suspect that currently the majority of our coral in the shop is either Indo or from other people's tanks, to be fair, from customers.
Yeah.
We tend to, we practically all our coral, in fact, comes from UK suppliers. But I'm assuming they get most of it from either Indo. There's very little Aussie stuff about at the moment. But thankfully, a good chunk of it now is maricultured. So it's grown specifically for the hobby.
Yeah. So where do you get yours from? TMC, or is there other suppliers?
I get some from TMC. If I get to go down, we get some from a few different places.
We have to shop around, because we get ripped off just like some customers think they're getting ripped off by us. But we have a standard markup, and if we pay a lot for something, unfortunately, it has to kind of get past that line. We'll take a bigger hit on something if we've overpaid, but we have to shop around.
Yeah. So I suppose people bringing in corals that people local closing down tanks, that kind of stuff. As long as you're comfortable with
that's it. That's when you get the bargains.
Yeah.
That's when you can get the bargains. As long as they're happy with what we give them, then we can afford to do them cheaper, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. So a torch is still really, really popular. I noticed you had a lot of torches, a lot of hammers, amongst other things. Is that still flying out the door? Those kind of
the price seems to be coming down a little bit. It did peak last year, I think, and it went really ridiculous, but they seem to be balancing out now. So, along with the price balancing out, I think demand's leveling off. Corals tend to go through fashion trends as well. It's hard to keep up. We have to try and predict what the next in-demand coral is. And it'll only take a few pictures from people like yourselves to boom a particular coral. You know, it's Instagrammers and stuff. They put them on and people see them and they like the look of them. And we'll get asked for them the following week. So
what we need to do is group together and get something that we've all got.
Yeah. Don't forget that Xenia is really popular. It always works like that. There's always a trend, whether it be Monties were really on for a while, and hammers are on for a while, and torches are on, and then they give all these fancy names to them for a bit, and then they disappear. And trellises are all getting funny names at the moment. Then they'll start on, before you know it, something else will be getting fancy names just to try and make it more popular.
I hope they start on chalices because I've got quite a few, so that'd be that'd be nice.
They've always been fairly steady away, I think, but I wouldn't say touch. I think LPS in general has seen a bigger boom this year, whereas the year before it was all SPS.
Yeah, do you think LPS because they're easier to look after in generally than SPS?
That's it. Less maintenance for some people. They don't want the hassle of necessarily going in depth that you have to do with SPS and having the issues. And then if you do have a tank crash with SPS, you're going to lose a lot in one go.
Most people who start as well want colour and movement, which LPS gives you, softies give you. I think the attraction to SPS for most of us is the challenge of keeping it. I think genuinely we don't particularly prefer the look of tanks, although they do look awesome when they've grown out. I think we are attracted to the challenge of actually keeping them.
Yeah,
it's an advancement in the hobby, isn't it? It's just advancing yourself.
It seems certainly as a step up to have an SPS dominated tank, and when you see him grown up, you think, well, that person knows what they're doing. That's the perception. But anyone that I know comes around, and I see people, they prefer the movement that you get with torches and those kind of things. And SPS, they look at it. My wife looks at it. We went and saw a tank. It was absolutely fantastic. She came out and said, "That's rubbish." What do you mean it's rubbish? It's fantastic. It's just sticks. It just sticks.
You do grow to love them and the looks and trying to get the best colours out of them. But if you show any new hobbyist or people who don't like the hobby, they're just like, what is that? And then they'll look at Xenia and they'll be like, whoa, look at that, it's moving.
Yeah, especially when you turn off the pumps and it just sits there and goes like that. It's quite fascinating, isn't it, to watch. Whereas an SPS sits there and then when the lights go down, it'll just come up, they're brown.
Hey, hey,
Jay, I didn't even mention your name.
Don't be mentioning brown corals again already, Paul. It's too early in the night.
For that. I did mention it, but your name didn't come into it yet.
You've had loads of fish that I've seen on your website that I like. And I've noticed that you don't post out. There's a reason why you don't post fish? So a lot of people, a lot of other suppliers do, don't they?
Couriers are terrible at posting. Couriers, we fell out with APC. Was it APC? Yeah. We fell out with APC one year because they were leaving corals and stuff underneath cars on driveways in the freezing weather and stuff like that. It's not easy to post stuff these days.
It's not fair on the fish. Corals, if they take a day or two longer, they're usually fine. Fish getting battered around and thrown. It's just the way they handle, even if you pay extra for them to be carefully delivered. By the time you see some of the pictures of the boxes once they've been received, they're horrendous. Also, we can't, believe it or not, oxygen tanks require a lot of PPE and insurance because they're really dangerous. So the fish, if you don't use oxygen, have got very limited time in them bags, and it isn't fair on them. So we'd rather people go and see the fish before they buy them. It's just, you want to see it eating, you want to see that it's healthy. That
reminds me on some fish, Dom. Have you got any starry blennies in?
We had one. I'm not sure if it's still.
I know where it is. I saw it today. Big fat one.
Yeah, is it still in?
Is it?
I think it ended up in one of the display tanks. It was in a rock, and we moved that rock into a display tank, and now it's in the.
But before you go home, you're gonna have to go and get him because I'm having him tomorrow.
The lights are off. The lights are off.
So because I need a Blenny. I need one of them. I was looking for it, so I want one. So
if you sat on the power head still, it won't be a problem. That's where he was earlier.
well, I'll call up tomorrow and see what.
There's a question here around Blastos being the next thing. Do you sell many Blastos?
They come and go. Yeah, we don't have massive amounts in at the moment. The next coral trend is going to be Blastos. That's because there's less of them available.
Yeah.
Whenever anything kind of disappears off the market, everybody wants them, and then we get hassled.
Yeah, there's not a lot about at the minute of Blastos. Like I say, Aussie stuff in general just tends to be thinner on the water at the minute, literally.
Yeah.
So why is Aussie in? Well, mate, I didn't say in short supply, but why is a drop in that?
Well, presumably they've got on reduced quotas as well. But we're towards the end of the year, so it is the end of the year.
The CITES run out.
All the CITES and stuff tends to drift off. There's less availability at the minute, and then you'll probably find it picks up again early next year.
Right, so they come to the end of their year. They've exported a lot, so they haven't got much left in terms of their license, and then the people that are importing have used theirs as well.
It all just goes around in a circle. We'll find it picks up again. I mean, some stuff like Scholars and whatnot have still been coming through, but I've seen a lot less Aussie SPS, for example. That seems to have vanished off my radar at the moment.
Yeah.
But like I said, the whole SPS thing seems to have taken a dip, and everybody's into LPS at the moment. So, which is easy for us to keep. We're all right with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just one thing about difference between Aussie and Indo. I read quite often, I don't know if it's torches, that they're easier to keep with their Indos compared to Aussie. Is that right?
Generally. The Aussie golds, I think, stick in people's heads when they perish, and they are harder to keep. Typically, we do find Indo ones do a little bit better, but it's only really the Aussie golds that are more unpredictable. Most of the other Aussies don't seem too bad for keeping.
Right. Okay.
The fact that all the Indo ones are maricultured as well does play a part in that.
Yeah, so they've already been manhandled to some extent. So they're kind of used to being moved about and stuff. So I think that plays a big role.
So they were taken off the reef, the original colonies, then fragged, then put back in the ocean.
It should all be now grown from mother colonies, yeah. I think they don't take much from the wild anymore. So little bits have been taken previously. They have to grow them out for so long, and they can take bits off them and then keep fragging from them ones. Yeah.
And I suppose when there was an Indo ban, those people that would have, I suppose, seeded the frags, by the time they got to export, and they would have been, I wouldn't say in big colonies, but they certainly would have been ready to be fragged, amongst other things. Okay. So what's the plans for the store over the next 12 months, Dom? Or Jamil?
I can't hear them, mate.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Yeah, no sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. Jay, I can hear you, but your mouth's not moving. Oh, now we've got dial-up.
That's better, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now. And we've lost Steve as well. The Mackie D.
I was going to predict my next big coral. Have we gone past that now?
we're
way past that, mate.
Yeah.
I was going to go acans, by the way. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay, is that because you like acans? I
just think that the colours and the rainbow. I think the acans are going to go big next. That's my bet.
They do go through trends. Acans. They do. They go through phases, just like every other one.
Yeah,
I think that's where I started really on acans 5 years ago. I started by fragging acans and selling them online. Good old shed seller.
is that how you started off, Dom? From a hobby to selling it? Go on, sorry.
That's it. I started selling at home, that lasted about a month, and I soon realised I couldn't get suppliers or do what I wanted to do, so I made a shop.
Air cans were his niche. He did a lot of air cans.
So then you went to being a shed seller, did you? Was that from your own home?
Yeah, I did it from home for maybe a month, not for very long. I just realised I couldn't get the suppliers or do what I wanted to do. So getting a shop. I mean, to be fair, at that point, my house was 5 fish tanks and an office. Because I worked from home as well, doing my day job. Yeah. And they had all the fish stuff as well. So it made sense at that point to rent a unit instead of a house.
So is that the unit you're in now? Have you moved?
Day one, yeah, we've not moved from here since I opened up.
Because I remember seeing some pictures on one of the WhatsApp sites you were on when you was building out the tanks and everything else, and you extended it, and that was quite soon after opening, if I remember rightly. Although it took obviously a bit of time to set it all up.
I don't think a year has gone by where I haven't changed something or made it bigger somewhere.
But I suppose that's a positive, isn't it? Because the business is growing and there's demand there, so therefore you've got the need to expand.
Plus, I've got to do something with my day, haven't I? I've got lots in the tanks. I need to do something interesting. But yeah, I mean, we made the shop bigger last year. Added new tanks. I don't know what we're going to do this year. Obviously, we've changed the front shop. I'm going to have to find new ways to spend money.
If we're happy and we're comfortable, then he has to find something big to do. Just to upset things.
You have to give him a project to stay out your way, do you?
Yeah. Plus, when people, it's like Tesco's. Every time you go to Tesco's, they've rearranged all the shelves and moved stuff about. I do the same thing here. We move it all around. You can't find your carbon, you see something else to buy.
Clever.
So it is like Tesco's, isn't it? Where you put the sweets at the front and those kind of things as you come through the door, or on the way out, or by the till. Do you see that kind of stuff working? And you put stuff by the till, you see that people end up buying that stuff as they're browsing.
I don't think it happens that much. In fact, they can be stood at the till and ask where something is that's on the till.
Here's one for you, Zim. What's the most common question that you get asked in the shop? The question that everybody asks.
There's a million, but I can't think of any right now.
I don't think there's one that stands out more than any.
No, there is a lot of similar questions. What's this? Is probably the main one. They point at something in a tank, whether it be a fish or a coral, and ask me, what's this? And I don't think they're any more enlightened when I tell them what it is.
If you think about when people come in, what's the biggest issue that people have? I know there's probably a range, but there must be like 3 or 4 things that you ask most of the time, or maybe not.
Usually hair algae, phosphates.
Dinos, in recent times, because of the low nutrients, gone from high nutrient problems to low nutrient problems. Dinos, and it's not an easy thing to tackle, so it takes some talking. It's a multi-pronged approach, so it takes a long time to deal with dinos. There's no instant fix for that one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Is that because when people are setting up their tanks, they're setting up with full filtration, like your Clarity and other stuff?
We're starting, we're pretty much starting sterile nowadays. This is one of the downsides of not having live rock anymore. Obviously, again, we don't want to destroy the environment. We don't want the pests that come on it, hair algae and inverts you don't want. But on the other side, you haven't got the varying bacterias. It takes you years to establish them. So you don't have that to combat in the first place. Mm-hmm. And you're starting sterile, which is perfect for bacteria to grow. And unfortunately, the bad bacteria grow faster than the good ones.
Yeah, so just compete. Well, there's nothing to out-compete, is there? Because there's nothing there to compete with from day one, I suppose.
The filtration medias have so much surface area nowadays that the rock has to do very little work. You could probably set up a tank with very little to no rock and still have very low nutrient levels.
We do see quite a few tanks, especially on Instagram, where there's hardly any rocks. I suppose in the sump and those areas they have got the bio and other stuff.
In itself, having little rock gives you less dead spots, so gives you less detritus building up and lower nutrients. So that in itself is causing lower nutrients as well. So they do look well, and if you can pull it off, it works really well. I like a minimalist scape, but again, it just feeds the low nutrient problem.
Do you think if there's little to no rock, that fish get more stressed because they haven't got those hiding spaces, and therefore you have more conflict and stuff?
The fish like to make the beds and the territories, as we've all watched when we're watching our fish tanks. The fish do usually sleep in similar areas. They also like to control a certain part of the tank, most fish. I think you can have too little rock, definitely, if you're going to go heavily on fish. A lot of fish keepers, or I say fish keepers, reef keepers, have, like myself, will have fish to do a job, and then it's mainly corals. You know, most of it's corals. You may have one trophy fish, but unfortunately most of them don't go in reef tanks anyway. So it's mainly about the coral and then a few worker fish, janitor fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Just got one question here about how does a week's maintenance of all them tanks look like? How long does it take? So what's the kind of cycle you go through in a week?
It takes all week. We have the days split up. We very rarely have time not to be doing anything. Obviously, we spend a lot of time talking to customers and whatnot, but each tank, or if we're quiet, we maybe get through 2 coral trays, but weekly we'll typically strip a tank down and do a water change, clean it. Sometimes fortnightly, depends on how the tank's running as well. But yeah, the full week is taken up. It's not just the tanks, or the whole shop, like every other shop, needs maintenance as well. So every day is spoken for, pretty much.
Yeah, I saw the
There's something
filtration.
broken that needs repair, isn't there? Always.
The weekend, we try to be done by the weekend so we can focus on serving customers, and with no time's taken up from that.
Yeah. So that big tank that you got behind your desk, not behind the till, and obviously the filtration is in when you come in through the shutter doors. Is that relatively easy to look after, as it's a big tank and all the filtration's out of the way of the shop, or?
It's linked to the main fish system, so they're all one and the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just one big filtration. So other than a water change on there and cleaning the glass, it's fairly minimal, to be fair. There's a lot more work in looking after the coral trays than there is the big fish system.
Yeah. So I think last time you was on, you were talking about you strip the coral bays down on a regular basis, don't you? Is that still the case?
All the corals come out,
There is a video, I think, somewhere on YouTube of me and maybe somebody else stripping the coral tray down.
Just Jamil, I wasn't happen. Yeah.
That's just me.
But they are fully stripped down. We don't like to remove too much water and create those sterile conditions, but we do remove all the corals, check them, dip them if needed, clean all the glass, and put it all back together again, essentially. Either every week or every other week, at least, every tray gets done like that.
Wow, that's a big commitment, isn't it? But I suppose then
Yeah,
it helps
so
to keep
on the week before Krakna, every single one got pulled down like that. So all of them were done an entire week. So every single coral came out of every single tank effectively into polystyrene boxes, and the whole tank's redone.
Yeah.
I think that's the bit that people don't see, is the maintenance that goes on in the shop. People see, oh, the shop's great, it must be great to have a shop. You can sit there and watch all the corals and talk to customers, but they don't realise what goes on behind the scenes.
You could let the trays get dirty, if you will, but we prefer the clinical look. One, because you'll easily see if there's something wrong with the coral, and two, I mean, it looks nicer. If you go into a shop, there's nothing wrong with them being a little bit untidy, but you want to focus on the coral, and if the tank's grown out with either algae or coralline and everything's dark, or it's harder to see what you're actually purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think also if people going in and seeing clean tanks and stuff like that, I think certainly personally,
that's it. You're making an impression.
Yeah, it's that first impression. If you've got algae all over the place.
I mean, if we're not looking after it, then where can we expect you to look after it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Now, bearing in mind the time, guys, I don't know if we've got any more quick questions either from the people here or.
I've got one. I don't know if my internet's really rubbish, but I was going to ask about the next one, the date of the next one. Obviously, this one's gone really well.
He gone.
I've penciled in for some time in February anyway.
That cutout was perfection, wasn't it? It was right on the money, but we know enough about it. So you're looking at February.
We're looking at February. We'll probably go back to the one afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to say one day will probably be better. unless there is mega interest again, then we may have to spread it over 2. But I think one day works better overall for people to see each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, February, and then we'll do one in summer with a barbecue. Barbecue in summer.
Hey, that'd be good.
Yes.
That's really good.
That's the plan. That's probably late June, early July, probably that one. See,
So,
I've planned ahead a little bit.
We try to do them quarterly, because if you do them too frequently, then 1, the novelty will wear off, and 2, you're not going to have much more to bring.
No.
Yeah.
If we do it monthly, you want to keep them as kind of a exclusive event, really. And if you do them all the time, it just becomes another one of them things.
Yeah, there's a balance, isn't there?
Yeah, so pencil, make sure you're not on holiday in February. I've already had some regulars complain that they're on holiday on February, and I'm going to pick the exact date that they're away. But,
You can't please everyone all of the time, can you?
I randomly choose the days, and this time Krakna was on my weekend off. What was that about?
That's poor planning, that, mate.
That was terrible planning.
I tell you what was good. Who was the guy there? Was it not Reef Elements, wasn't it? Who was the guy who was the
Reef Elements, Jose. There was 2 of them.
Yes, the 2. That was really good speaking to him. What was the name of that? Sorry, mine's gone completely blank. What was the name
Jose
of it?
and Ben were in from Reef's Elements.
Yeah, it was really good speaking to them around on how they started the business, how he made all the elements and everything himself for his own tank, and then I think it's his wife who's a chemist.
Yes.
And then it was just fascinating speaking to him around how it started off and how the production, and then they have to sell it all off for the for it to be tested and everything else to make sure what they put on the packets is what it is, and the quality control. I just thought it was really interesting hearing about.
Yeah, it's nice to see behind the scenes every so often and understand what actual work goes into this stuff. And you don't realise, even me, I didn't think that he has to make more RO than we do. So he's got a bigger RO unit than we do because he has to make RO to make all these products. And I completely overlooked that point when I was talking to him in a conversation. He's making something like 10,000 litres a day or something silly.
Wow.
There's a lot of water.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's water bill.
No.
Unless
He's also from further down south, so he goes through his filters a lot quicker than we do as well.
Yeah, speed of production, all that. I'm going to say, if he lives in Scotland, he'll be all right because you don't pay for your water unless, I don't know if commercial you do, but certainly domestic you don't. Ross, as you remind us all the time, when I'm moaning about how much the water and how much I go through, blah, 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 you just shrug your shoulders.
I like to drop that one in there every now and then, mate.
For a wet hobby, it's not the water that's the costly bit anyway. It's the electric in it. It's the electric bloody bills that are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be worse.
Yeah, is that your biggest outlay? Is it
It's about 1,200 a month.
Wow. And it's
that's going to go up in the next 12 months.
it's only going to go up according to
Going to go up, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just insane.
We're going to get a giant hamster wheel with a generator built into it.
I was thinking we'd get next door for an eco-friendly vegan gym where they all run on treadmill.
You could go solar, but I suppose then you've got to spend loads of money on the outlay, and that probably wouldn't. You probably use so much.
It'd take a while to catch up with the amount of electric we burn. We need a lot of panels. Yeah. Definitely, the lights and pumps, they are getting more efficient, and we've swapped. We're probably more efficient this year since the expansion because I've changed a lot of the pumps for more efficient ones and stuff, so we are doing better. But as hobbies, we do need to pay more attention to how much watts everything puts out because it really does spin that meter around.
Yeah.
Not so much on those little nano tanks, but yeah, the rest of us.
Yeah, especially when you've got as much as you've got going, and you just watch it. I don't. You just watch it spinning round and around, don't you?
It's in a different outbuilding, so I don't have to look at it because I can probably hear it spinning around.
You can literally see it spinning around. It's pretty quick.
Can you? Because then you go around switching things off and lights and
it's
stuff.
old-fashioned. It's not digital. The wheels turning.
It's like a CD player in there. You
could probably put a vinyl on there.
I can imagine how fast it spins, and then you're thinking, how can I slow it down? And there's probably very little you can do because turning off the lights in the shop would make no difference compared to everything else that you're burning.
We're thinking about getting a massive extension lead to next door and let them pay for it. But I don't know.
There's no street lights nearby you could tap into.
There's a big bakery next door. I bet they use a lot anyway, but they wouldn't notice.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Right, we're at 9 o'clock. Are you guys still okay? I know, Don, you said you needed to shoot
Yeah,
at some point.
it's not so much of a problem now.
Is it? Okay.
I had to wait for a gas man to come anyway.
Oh, yeah, you had a gas leak, didn't you?
We had a gas leak earlier, but we've got a new meter fitted now. It's all good. There's always something. You can't have this much salt water, and basically the salt in the air corroded through a pipe on the gas. Would you believe it? Yeah.
It doesn't feel humid, but
Yeah.
metal disagrees with us.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Which doesn't rust in here.
Yeah, I must admit, after standing in the shop for after about 3 hours, I had to go and stand outside. So I did feel.
I've been in worse shops. Some of them feel really close, and it doesn't in here, but over time, obviously, the all the metal just starts to rust if it isn't well treated in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't actually know where all the condensation goes. I can usually find it in most shops, but I have no idea. You very rarely get drips off the beams or anything.
Oh, really?
You've got quite high ceilings though, haven't you? So it might help a wee bit.
It's quite high. They're insulated ceilings. It's all double insulated on this building. So we are lucky because I know some places have it terrible, but just on this occasion.
It has to land somewhere. And I was probably going next door through some hole or something.
Yeah. Someone's got it all next door. They've got the condensation.
Yeah.
They're thinking, what the hell's going on? They haven't realised.
But the salt water does burn through everything eventually. It does just go through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just keep an eye on your gas meters.
and it just shows you, and it just shows you the pumps and all the equipment you have in your sumps and everything, the conditions they're in when they've got to spin 24/7, and there's not metal, but all the parts and how they don't corrode. To be fair, because touch wood, very few things do corrode that you buy. I find anyway.
Yeah, it's a harsh environment at the end of the day, salt water, isn't it? You know what effect it has on beaches and stuff like that, and how it erodes everything away, and it does the same to your equipment slowly. It just burns through it.
Yeah. My Clavacy has just packed up after about 4 years, but I think 4 years isn't bad considering it's got a pump in it, and you've got all the wires and everything else, and it doesn't look as encased as some of the other kit that you buy. So there's no complaints from me. Obviously, it's frustrating when something does die, but 4 years for me, I think has been quite a
It's
good
not bad,
time.
is it?
No, it's not bad going.
All wires go brittle and plastics go brittle, and it just knackers everything eventually. You just can't stop it.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a routine for changing equipment like heaters and so on? Do you change them every year, or do you just basically try and change them when they burn out, or how does it work with that?
Well, the UV bulbs, we have a schedule for that. RO filters, we've got so much we'll produce before we change them. But as far as equipment goes, we play it by ear and just check it constantly if it needs replacing.
We lost the light over Kraken weekend, didn't we, on the big 8-foot tank behind the counter. Just replaced that power supply today, so that's working again. If we get electrocuted, then we'll swap something out.
Yeah, that's usually how we tell when something's out for you.
Yeah, we don't have, touch wood, we don't have too many problems. There's more than one heater in every tank and more than one, there's redundancy into stuff. And because we've got so many electronic devices like refactory stuff in there, if something goes offline, we know it's gone offline. I get a message to my phone. We lost the whole tank the other week because some water had got into a light and conked out the whole entire system. But I had that many messages coming to my phone, I knew something was up immediately.
Yeah.
So we can come and sort it out.
You know what?
Factory, isn't it? Yeah. If it switches off, you automatically get a notification.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good.
Yeah, I've said this before. Like that's one thing with the Apex. Why I have the Apex, on my tank. It sends me an alert. So say for instance, if my heater's stuck on, it'll send me an alert saying that my heater's going to rupture or whatever. Then if it went offline, it sends me an email saying that it's got offline, it's lost it. So then I think, well, there's an issue here. Is that either the electric's tripped or there's some problems, you know what I mean? So it's always safe to have those sort of things.
It's peace of mind when we have so much money in these tanks, and not just that, we're so attached to these tanks. paying for something like a Senai, which is you know what it is peace of mind.
Yeah.
It pays for itself. If one thing goes wrong, it's already paid for itself. It's you want redundancy and you want peace of mind, especially when you're well invested into this hobby. It's not easy to lose stuff.
No, I mean it's like the battery backups. I say it all the time. I should get a battery backup just in case, just in case it might never happen, But then I've got a little generator in the shed, so the neighbours are not going to really thank me for it if I have to start the generator. It'll keep the tank going, it'll keep it going and keep it alive. But
you don't need it until you do, and people say, Do I need a jump guard or a net or a lid over my tank? Well, not until your fish jumps out. Then you needed one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that fish probably cost as much as your jump guard did. So just get one.
That probably goes with the question what was asked before. What's the questions that you get asked? You know what I mean?
And things like that. When they buy in, do I need a lid? That is a common one, and it's not something. Do I need a UV? No, but maybe you might do very soon. So this again, I know people want to be budget friendly, but when you weigh up the cost of not having these things, it's not cost efficient.
No,
it's the age-old thing though. We're all willing to go into a store and spend hundreds on one coral, but when you look at it and you say, "What? That bit of kit there's 40 quid." No, I don't need that. But you'll spend £200 on a torch.
We have people buying shoals of. We had a customer buying shoals of purple tangs at one point, and then I saw a post online. Does anybody have any cheap or free heaters? And I'm thinking, why? Why spend all that money on fish and then want the cheapest thing to keep them alive?
Yeah, it's true that. Yeah,
it's a bit like I wouldn't have a heater without a controller on it. I like the DD controllers, and for the amount of money, £40. I mean, a heater's more likely, I think, to if it cuts out, your tank would be all right for a little while. If it overheats and cooks it, that's it. They're toast, aren't they? Almost. A lot of people use the titanium heaters with the temperature controls, which is great. But if you want double redundancy, if you get something like an Eheim or something with a thermostat built in, you've got two.
I do that. I have that anyway. I have that one. So I have that on. I have the same on a D&D, the titanium on the D&D controller, and then I have another heater plugged into the Apex. So the Apex then trips it on. Like if for instance the temperature went down, I've set it so that the temperature drops below whatever it is, 77 I think or 76. Then that heater trips back on. So it's just like you said, it's just a redundancy, in case anything does happen.
The more you can have, the better. It is. Everything, you'll get a temperature controller for peace of mind, but it's still an electronic piece of equipment that is prone to failing. Anything can fail. So your temp controller could just as easily fail as a heater. Well, not just as easily, because heaters tend to have a lifespan, so it's always worth keeping your eye on them.
Well, I've got the D&Ds, and I've never had a problem. I've got two of them. Two of those D&D. I think they're fantastic. But when I seen like the Reef Factory ones, and I thought, I like the idea of the Reef Factory because it's on a smartphone. You've got the controllability on the smartphone, and you've got the notifications as well. Whereas on the D&Ds, you've not got that. You've not got that controllability. Do you know what I mean? So, like you said, if it does go out, then you've got no. If you've only got that heater in your tank, then you've got no. You don't know whether it's gone off or not until you get home. Do you know what I mean? So I think the cost of it. I mean, I don't know how much they had. About 140 or 130 or something. I can't remember.
They chuck more money, but they do.
They cost more. Exactly, but they give that. It's just that extra protection.
You know instantly if it's gone wrong. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I went Apex for that simple reason. You get the notifications, but then you've got quite a few things built in, the heater control and also the notification, and then you can add things on top of it, like the leak detectors and other stuff. Depends on how far you want to go. Some of the people have got massive tanks. They put the breakout boxes and set all kinds of weird and wonderful things up, and they can program. Whereas Fusion is kind of plug and play, isn't it? you can go a bit old school with it and program it in different ways. Not that I do that, I don't need to do it, but it's got a bit of flexibility around.
I know it's a love-hate relationship with the Apex, isn't it? People like them or people don't like them. Some people say they're overrated. Some people say this. But I have the leak detection kit just for peace of mind, because you know what I mean. It's just like I said, it's just a redundancy. If anything, I've got it set that if for instance there is any water felt and it detects it, then it trips the return pump off. You know what I mean? Because then it's just all about redundancy.
In the scheme of how much livestock you have in there, it isn't a lot of money, is it?
Oh, absolutely.
No. Is it heck? And like you said, when you pay,
it's not just the money, the livestock itself, you'd be proper gutted if you lost it. You've grown these corals from tiny pieces and brought these fish up.
Absolutely.
And then you lose it for something trivial like a heater sticking on. There's nothing more devastating.
No,
it's not even your fault. It's a piece of equipment, so you can't even blame yourself really, because it's out of your hands.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Well, I've told the lads before in the past on the stream and stuff, like I change my heater out every year. Every year I've got it set. I changed it. No, even if there's still work, I've got 4 heaters. But I've just got into that routine now where I just change it just in case. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying a brand new one's not going to trip or break. I'm not saying that, but it's just, you know, it stands a better chance of surviving than what one that's been in the tank for a year is going to. You know what I mean?
So I feel really bad because I've got one.
I know.
An Empire one that's been going for 5 years. And touch wood, should I be changing?
You get the hardware lottery sometimes. They don't all fail. Sometimes you get a real winner, and then people 40. We didn't have to replace any parts, and we still didn't need to, but we've just replaced the wet side after 6 years or something. Yeah. Wow. Like a dream.
Yeah. I do feel bad, and I feel the need to change it just because Steve's changed it.
I'll send you one of my ones.
No, it's not the money. Because it's like 40 quid for a heater, which in this hobby is peanuts, isn't it? I don't know.
But it can't be that comes back onto what we've been saying. You pay all this money for coral, and for 40 quid, you know what I mean, to just change it. That's the way I look at it. £40, change the heat, or even if the other one ran for another 2 years, then it's just peace of mind for me. You know what I mean? And that's the way I look at it, just in case.
Yeah.
So it's always worth having spares at home somewhere in a cupboard, just in case.
Your return company heaters will always fail when the shops are closed.
Well, I've got that at the moment. So my S2 failed. Actually, I cleaned out the sump, and then I cleaned out the S2. I put it back in, and it's come up with an error message, and I sent it back to Ecotech in the UK, which I can't remember the name of the company, begins with X. Yeah, and so I'm actually running the DD Reef 900 just as a display at the moment. So the heater's in there, the controller's in it. I'm just feeding a basic amount and doing water change. It's a small water change, like 10 litres on it's about 200 litres of display. 10 litres a day. It's not going to cause any problems because when I'm taking the nutrients out and I don't need to dose. But it's a real pain in the when it goes.
Have you? Is the movement in your sump still, or is it sat still? So be careful when you turn your pumps back on, because you might have built up a lot of anaerobic bacteria in there.
No, so what happened was I stripped the sump down. So I haven't cleaned it since I first set it up.
That's where to do it.
My clarity failed. My middle name's Lucky at the moment, so my clarity failed. So I've got loads of detritus in the sump. So I stripped it all out. It was completely clean, and then I filled it back up, and then it just didn't work. So
you said you put your media into your actual main display?
Well, no, I had a refugium. So I purely had the clarity, a skimmer, and a refugium, and that was it in there. And I've only got half a dozen fish, so I haven't got much.
That's fair enough, yeah.
And to be fair, clarity takes out so much. It took me
six really
months to get a refugium running. I just kept on losing the Cheeto because there wasn't enough nutrients in the tank. So I increased my feeding, and then that kick-started. So anyway, but I'm working on the basis that every tank I've got has got a sump. So if push comes to shove, I can just run the tank out of the display, and I've had to do that a couple of times recently. You can do that for a few days. Wouldn't recommend. It's a real pain to do, but
better safe than sorry.
Well, so that's gone back, and we'll see. But there we go. I'm just going to give you guys sorry, go on.
It's time for a spare pump.
Yeah.
You know what? I was looking at getting the S2 for mine, and because I do like the Ecotech products, but I'm running the J-Bow, the J-Bow DC 4000, and I've had that since day one. I had that on my 170. It's the one and only pump I've ever bought, yeah. And I clean it every 3-4 months, just clean out, and it's never missed a beat. You know what I mean? And people slag the J-Bows off. They go, "Oh, this shit, this, that," and you know. But
Again, it's a hardware lottery. You get lucky sometimes, and you get a great one.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And I think it costs like 60 odd quid, 70 quid or something. Peanuts compared to like the S2s, the M2s, and stuff like that.
I think a lot of people tend to over clean stuff, and I don't want people to put off cleaning stuff. But the more you mess with something, the more liable it is to start working less efficiently. Just have a routine like yourself every 3 or 4 months should be fine. Obviously, unless it's clearly blocked or slowed down, just do it less, because the more you open something and close it and take bits apart, it's gonna not work as well as it did. It's gonna be closer and closer to failing. Nothing's made to the point where it'll withstand constant, essentially dismantling and reassembling.
It's true that actually,
Yeah. So I've just got one question here, and then I'm going to give you guys a break for a couple of minutes because there's some questions earlier on that I want to go around the table on. So any tips on breeding clownfish? What are the best survival rates? So I don't know if anyone around here has actually bred clowns before.
No.
We haven't personally. It's a lot of work. You can get a lot of survival rate as long as you put in the effort in to do it. As far as I know, or what I remember, they hatch at night and then they swim towards the moon, the larvae. So you're better off trying to scoop them up when you've worked out when they're actually going to hatch, put them in another tank, keep the water quality good. The most difficult thing is finding something to eat, I think.
You've got to breed live rotifers at the same time.
That's right, yeah.
It's not just the keeping of the fry, you've got to be breeding food for the fry as well. So there's a whole chunk of work there.
You're feeding them a lot, but you're also keeping the water clean as well. And tiny things are always going to be delicate. So there will be lots of guides online, but we're not experts in breeding clownfish, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
I've tried it once and ended up giving up because I couldn't get it past 4 days. And the reason why I gave up was because I just couldn't produce enough rotifers and have the time to do it, because you need the phytos, you need sufficient stock of that allows you to breed the rotifers, and then you've got to put the rotifers in, and then you've got to clean the tank out on a regular basis because of the ammonia spike that you could get, because they don't eat everything, and so therefore you get ammonia. So it is a constant cycle, and in the end I was really pleased to get them to 4 days, but I couldn't get past that, and I just didn't have the time. But good luck.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? Having all that phyto, the rotifers, the clowns, the cleaning schedules. We couldn't do it here and run the shop at the same time. There's not enough time in the day left.
You just do it for the enjoyment. I don't think you'd make very much off it by the time all the time and money you've spent on doing it. I think it's just for the enjoyment and the challenge of doing it, really.
Unless they're the special clowns, the ones with the fancy.
Yeah, as far as I know, they don't actually breed true. So if you bred 2 fancy clowns together, I think you'll just get a mixture of standard clowns and possibly 1 or 2 fancy, or none at all. They don't actually breed true to what you've got.
Yeah, I've heard that of things like Picasso, that if you have I had a pair of Picasso, but you could get all kinds of different ones. You may get a true Picasso, but then you might get common. It really depends on what comes through. So you'll get a real mix match of different clowns. So hopefully that's answered the question. So what I want to go back to is this. So it's not coal sticks, is it? It's coal-tastic, isn't it, Jay? Where's your one? So Jay, do you want to take a few questions about coal-tastic? Because I know me and you are going to this in December, aren't we? So do you want to talk about it? Do you know a bit more about it than I do?
I don't know if so I believe it's on, is it the 5th of December? Is my Wi-Fi working all right at the moment?
Yeah, you're okay. Yeah. So it's Sunday the 5th, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, Sunday the 5th of December. I believe it's about £25 a ticket with coral suppliers and things like that down there. Also people doing talks about reef keeping and kind of tips and guidance and stuff like that. And I believe you either buy a ticket for the morning or the afternoon,
Yeah.
And it's down in Bedford or something. Yeah, but I believe Signature Frags is going to go along, and I'm going to go along with him. So that's why I know I'm kind of I'm in the mix for it. Really, looking forward to it. It'll be my second show after Krakna, so it'll be something good as well. And just before Christmas, so it's it always picks up. I know obviously Krakna are probably excited at this time of year because I heard it's quite seasonal, this hobby, and the sales go up near Christmas. So I reckon
in November, but dip down in December. You've got to buy your girlfriends and kids, and you're too busy spending money on other things. I think in December to go shopping for coral.
There's a last rush before Christmas where people want to make the tanks look nice before the family comes round.
I can imagine that actually.
Yeah.
I'll buy the missus and the kids a coral each. We'll be all right with that.
That's it.
We do Kraken vouchers, so you can buy them some vouchers and bring them down.
Are you having a Black Friday this year? That's like the end of November, isn't it? Black Friday, normally.
Don't know. It depends. A lot of Black Fridays, like in the States, it's people getting rid of cheap Chinese gear in it, and we haven't got any cheap Chinese now. It's all really expensive. Plans out.
We'll pass down the offers that the suppliers give to us, which they have started doing. So usually there is some stuff to be had cheap. But I think a couple of Black Fridays ago with the Coral Essentials juice, that were a really good price and got a lot of people using it.
Yeah, I do like a bit of a deal, obviously, as you probably know.
We had noticed, Jay. I mean, deal as in freebie, I thought it was, but
I'm just trying to find the advert. Where was the advert for this Coral-tastic? I'm sure it was on Instagram, wasn't it?
It's quite hard to find. I can't remember where it was. I think I saw it.
Can we get a link on for people so they can have a look?
I'll put it in the comments after. I saw it on Ultimate Reef.
Oh, okay.
Even if you Google it, it's quite difficult because I bought a ticket for the morning. I think Reef Dork has as well, but there's very little information about it. And there was a lot of people on Ultimate Reef saying, "Well, there's not much information." Blah blah blah.
I'd not even seen anything, and I'm part of a lot of groups online, so it's not been well advertised.
Not at the moment. I wonder if he's put tickets for sale. So I think it's a guy called Amin Aquatics. I think it is based in Bedford.
It's Amin that's doing it.
I am familiar with that.
Put a link in the description. Somebody who's watching can put a link in. Because I can't find it now. As I say, I've been invited by Signature Frag, so I'm going to go down
after this, or put something on Instagram. So I wonder if he's putting some tickets out to try and get some cash in, which is understandable because they're not cheap to put these events on. But it's a bit sparse of information around who's the speakers and everything else like that. But for me, £25 is not that much to go and meeting up with you, Jay, a few other people, and 25 quid is peanuts, I think, in the scheme of things for the hobby. And it's not that far. It's only about an hour for me, so it's not much of a journey. But we'll see if we can find out some more information. But I know some people were asking on here.
Is that Steve's Reef Keeper, is it? KH Keeper, I think.
It's my phone going off.
Jay, you're going to be wearing your
I've changed.
You're going to wear your suit down to Coral-tastic.
Change the tune on it.
What's that? Sorry, what's that, Ross?
I'm just asking if you're going to wear your suit down there or not.
You're such a pea-taker, you are. I was at work. I'd finished work and I had a busy day at work. I thought, what else can cheer you up than go and buy a coral? So that's what I did.
You wear a suit to work?
Yeah, and then somebody else was at Henley's Reef or something today. He took a picture of his suit in front of his reef tank. And I was like, is this like, are people taking the mickey? I don't know. But I don't wear a suit for reefing. It's not good gear, but it's just because I don't for work.
Well, if you look at the guy from Tidal Gardens, when he's doing his videos, he's virtually always got a suit on. He's always shirt and booted as well, isn't he? So you
know what? Actually, can we have a coral shopping channel? I quite like watching that, but obviously because it's in America, we can't do it. So, is anybody willing to do like a coral shopping channel on once a month, and you can buy? And
they do it online, don't they? Yeah,
I reckon Kraken, you should be the first ones get a coral shopping channel going.
It feels like a generation game when you got them going past on the conveyor belt. I know there's not a conveyor belt, but it does feel a bit like that. But I imagine to set that kind of thing up probably takes quite a bit in terms of the camera work and in the organisation, I imagine. But I mean, I don't know how easy it would be to do or what the demand would be.
If the Pikachu came on, me and Steve would be like dialing a number like that.
We don't really give names to any of the corals. They may well be fancy SPS, but we just sell them as, you know, the basic Latin or what we know it as. We don't put a name on it just in case it isn't. So we don't want to put prices. You don't overpay, but you're paying for instant gratification when you can colour a lot of stuff up to the same. If you pay a bit less and just base it on potential, same result. Just with patience and maturing a coral, because a lot of it you forget it comes from the sea, and it's not showing the potential from these LEDs and all this fancy equipment and stuff, and the extra feeding that it's getting. So you can get the same result from stuff that isn't quite the same colour yet and pay a quarter of the cost. But you are paying for instant gratification. So somebody's looked after it and coloured it up and got it used to captivity as well.
Yeah. The problem with SPS, you take it out of one tank and put it in other different conditions, the colours.
You lose it all, yeah.
So, you know, it's popping rainbow, it goes into your tank. Quite often it will lose that rainbow and then it can come back
looks like a twig,
green and completely a green coral it ends up, can't it? Because that's usually quite often those contain.
Yeah, the conditions need to be mega similar for SPS, in particular your PAR, your nutrient levels. They either won't take or they just won't look the same. So you pay a lot of money for these fancy, really amazing looking corals, and if you don't match the parameters that we're in, you can end up with something that costs 15 quid from a shop.
Yes, that's a fair comment. In terms of corals that you keep in the shop, what do you find some that are really hard to look after?
The same as you as reefers do, I suppose. It's always going to be the SPS that need the extra attention. Acroporas in particular.
Can I ask something? Someone said it's only a rainbow if it's got 4.
Oh, we've lost him. I don't know if you want to
gone
carry
again.
on, and he'll come back in when he fancies it.
Are you there, Jay?
Jay's got my Mackie D connection, hasn't he?
Just call something a rainbow if you want to charge more for it.
Well, that is true. I think Walt Disney, because I've seen one and I walked right past it and I looked at it and I think, so seriously, is that a Walt Disney? And it looked nothing. Things like Red Planet, I thought, was far better as an SPS, in my opinion.
A lot of people will pay just for the name. Just for the name. They don't even know what the coral should look like, but they've heard things about a coral. And if you tell them it's that coral, they'll pay over the odds, and it may not even be that thing.
Yeah.
Or it might be that thing that's got a year of maturing and looking after before it actually looks like what you expected it to be. If you're buying a Walt Disney that's just come in from the wild, it's going to take a lot of love and TLC to get it looking like some people have got it looking.
Yeah.
And you've got to get it used to captivity. They don't always take to fish tanks, unfortunately. So don't rush out and buy fresh frags of fancy name stuff. Make sure it's already looking nice. And also ask whoever you're buying off the parameters.
Yeah. And when you think some of the corals are kept at 30, 40 meters, and you're putting in something that's maybe 2 feet from light, that's completely different, isn't it? It's a world away from what it's used to. I was watching something yesterday around the high death rates of coral that comes, wild colonies that come out, and they're a lot harder to adjust, and it takes quite a lot of care and expertise to get them in that state where they're actually anywhere near hardy.
They're in practically identical parameters constantly before they reach us, apart from temperature, which may change minorly. Everything else stays practically identical, so they don't. There's no swings for them.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm not sure about, and I don't know if it's ever been discussed or not before, is pressure. Because obviously, if they're coming from deep down, I mean, even fish and so on as well. I mean, if you watch any deep sea fishing and so on, when they bring these fish up from depth, they're usually dead, if not die in. So the pressure that the coral is going to be under, and the pressure. So nobody ever really seems to mention that. Could that have an effect on aquarium corals and fish being at different pressures? I don't know.
I think fish for certain. A lot of the corals, maricultured ones, it's still more pressure than they used to in an aquarium, but they're grown in fairly shallow places, so they're getting a reasonable amount of sunlight. But yeah, with fish, most certainly, the ones that are deep down, the more expensive ones, will be used to more pressure, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fish suffer from too much oxygen in aquariums, as well as too little with problems. But when they're coming from deeper down, they're not as used to as much oxygen. So you can kill fish with too much oxygen as well.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. So I suppose it's do your research in terms of what's their natural habitat.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's where a biotope comes in. We do have the odd customer who wants all the same stuff from the same region. Not many, but a lot of them will question where something's come from, and try to keep the fish from the same area, the corals from the same area.
Yeah. Because I was watching a different video yesterday, and there was some angelfish on there, quite rare, and he was keeping the tank at 23 degrees because there was this angelfish on one other, and where they live is usually around that kind of temperature, and so therefore probably keep the fish longer than if it's going at 25, 26, which kind of makes sense, but I never really think about that.
Lower temperature.
Sorry, what was that? So I missed that last bit.
It's like blue spotted jawfish tend to do better in lower temperatures.
Yeah.
A higher temperature will just speed up the metabolism and cause them problems if they're not used to it.
And they've got quite a high. You don't see many that last that long, do they?
Yeah.
Of those jawfish, the blue. Maybe that's the reason why then, because as you say, the temperature amongst other things.
Some people have problems. Some people manage to keep them for quite a long time, or they jump out. I think a temperature comes. Temperature plays a big role in certain fish.
Yeah.
So do you think we keep our tanks too hot? Because when you hear people, a lot of people keep them between 25 and 26, quite often 25 and a half. Is that the ideal temperature? I mean, maybe it'll be a perfect temperature because it depends obviously what you keep.
If you can get away with it and you can keep it cool over summer, I'd have no problem with someone running the tank at 24 degrees. But the problem comes when summer comes and you're getting much bigger swings. Yeah. You're going to get that temperature rise. It's getting stuff used to it. Some stuff may not take at 24. Most stuff I found does. And keeping it consistent is key. We run our temperatures a little bit higher because we struggle to keep temperatures down in summer. So it's less of a swing when that. It's easier to keep them warmer than to cool them down. Yeah. Unless you've got a chiller, but that produces heat. So you've got to think about that aspect as well.
And also there's a lot of electricity in a chiller as well, in a small tank, let alone if you've got something in there. But you probably have aircon rather than
another piece of equipment to fail as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's what puts me off. I'd love to keep seahorses, but I know they're quite difficult. They a lot of waste comes out, and also I've heard they're kept at lower temperature. So in the summer, that's going to be quite difficult if you have to keep them at a lower temperature.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are captive bred now, so they are a little bit hardier. They're better at taking foods and whatnot. You can train them to be a little bit cleaner eating-wise. From the little bit that I've researched into them, you can train them to eat out of little dishes and pots, so it's not messy. They do want to ideally be with very few other fish, because if you do put other fish in, you're going to overfeed the tank because they're not great predators, and you'll put more food in so they get some.
Yeah, they're really slow. A bit like they're slower than mandarins.
They are.
Mandarins quite slow, and
they're cool to
fish
see
as well.
Yeah, they don't do a great deal. Feeding time's about as exciting as it gets, but they're cool. I think again we like the thought of it because it's something different, and the challenge of keeping them attracts us.
Yeah. How long do they last? Because I've heard they kind of last about 2 years, but I don't know if that's true or not.
I think that's about right. 2 to 4 years. It's not something that I've looked into in depth. I think the average lifespan is about 2 to 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Jay, you was going to come in then.
No, I was saying you probably can feed him with Steve's basket. You know that basket he's got that is. I reckon that's made for feeding. You know your basket on that video.
Basket.
You know your little Astorina basket.
Oh,
yeah.
How's it going? Have you figured out how to use an Astorina basket yet?
Yeah. Well, I've got a Harlequin Shrimp in now on as well, Anna. So he's got to town on it. So I can't take all the food supply from him. I've got to leave some in. So he's going around, and I've definitely monitored him. munching on them, especially at night time. They come out at night, don't they? I think these Harlequin shrimps. I think they're more nocturnal. Do you know what I mean? I think they come out in the evening. But yeah, no, he seems to be doing a good job, mate. I've definitely seen a decrease in them anyway, for sure.
The population's dropping, is it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, on the glass, they come on the glass, but there's less of them, you know, each and every day. So they must be either hiding or they're being eaten. So one of them.
Basket.
Yeah.
they are fascinating to watch, though, aren't they?
Those Harlequin shrimps. Honestly,
I mean, they're evil in terms of when you see their claws and then they go after something and they chop it up. But they're mesmerising. I think their coloration and everything is just superb.
Like that Edward Scissorhands. Remember that film where he's like out with his fingers, like that's what it's like. It's like what? It is fascinating for sure. Definitely.
It looked like a winter snowstorm when you did that basket thing. It was ace.
Wasn't that? Hey, wasn't that bad?
They went in front of the wave makers. Went like.
Yeah.
So Steve, for those who haven't seen that video,
make sure
you want to remind people of what the schoolboy era was.
It's one of my favourite videos.
Well, I bought one of these. From Aquaprint. It was. So, yeah, from Aquaprint, a 3D printed basket. It was like a basket, and it catches asterinas, so you can slide it up your glass, and it basically catches them. It's got a bit of a groove, a lip, and it catches them and then just drops in a basket. So I was trying it out, and I was showing people like how it does. Stupid me, yeah. I forgot to turn my wave makers off. So when I collected them all, I moved it in front of my wave maker, and they blew all out of it. So that was so they went all over the corals, and I'm like, yeah, make sure you turn your wave makers off before you actually go to collect them. So yeah, we live and learn. But yeah, that was.
They were the ones that got away. They were loving life. That was someone.
Yeah, that was the bottom line of it. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of this 3D printing going on at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
Do you sell 3D printer stuff, Kraken? Dom,
we make some of our own stuff, yeah, and we'll be listing some of what's his name prints as well shortly. Probably Monday, Tuesday.
Aquaprint.
Yeah, I'm getting some of his stuff online Monday, Tuesday. We do some of our own stuff as well in store.
Yeah.
Got to do something with my time.
The 3D printing stuff's becoming more and more popular because it's so easy to just do anything, really, isn't it?
Dom loves doing custom projects as well. So if you want something custom, he's in his element.
Yeah. Somebody did mention on one of the things before said that they're going into printing aquascapes, you know, in 3D. So they're printing like aquascape and then using like the bio balls and stuff like Max Spec bio balls and stuff like that in the sumps as the biodiversity, and then obviously having a minimalistic scape. And I think that might be the way to go. Well, not the right way to go, but I think that's the way people are going to go.
I think it'll take some trialing because we don't actually know how long this 3D printing stuff will last yet.
Well, no.
Early days. But if someone can do it properly, it's just whether they can get it looking realistic. Personally, I can't be doing with novelty-looking items in a fish tank.
No.
It has to look good as well as be functional.
I go take that tentacle out the front tank now.
Too bad. The odd thing isn't too bad. As long as you haven't got a SpongeBob and a bubbling chest in there, I'm happy.
Fantastic. I just put a comment on screen because we was talking about astrinas earlier on, and Practical Reef has put on there about people finding, are they true pests or just annoying just due to the sheer numbers?
I think certain varieties can actually be detrimental to corals. They probably do. Whether it's accidental or not, they do harm or eat corals. The problem is it's hard to differentiate between them, and they do reproduce rapidly. So most people will just get rid of them simply because it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
There's other things that will do the same job as them.
I found because I've done some research on them, especially on the asterinas, and I found like the ones I've got, the darker ones, which have got like the more darker belly, they seem to go for like LPS and stuff like that, and zoas and stuff, they go for the fleshy sort of stuff.
I think that's
the more whiter ones, they tend to be, but like Ayla's just said there, there's hundreds of them, but the more whiter ones that you get, They're just more of a nuisance because they just populate like in the hundreds, and they're just like on the glass. You see them on the corals. They're not. I mean, I've got probably God knows how many, probably hundreds in my tank, probably. Yeah. But you see them climbing on the corals, but they're not irritating them. They're just like a nuisance. You know what I mean? For me, they're a nuisance for me, really. But yeah, hopefully that Harlequin Shrimp will do the business and get them all out.
I was going to ask about this was ages ago. You know, when we're talking about dinos, do all tanks have dinos in them potentially? But it's just suppressed?
I would imagine to some extent they will, unless you manage to clean absolutely everything you put in there. But I think at some point you will introduce dinos. Whether or not they thrive is the question.
Yeah, I've heard this, that all tanks have it kind of just like dormant or whatever until a nutrient crash, and then it just fires up or whatever.
Same with like white spot parasites. Most tanks have them, not every tank, but most tanks will have white spot. But unless your fish becomes ill or stressed out enough to actually pick it up, it's usually not an issue.
Yeah, thanks for that, mate. So I heard that, I didn't know how true it was. The other one that I tried to find out was the rainbow thing. Sorry, because my Wi-Fi keeps dropping out. So someone said a coral's only rainbow if it's got 4 or more colours. Is that true, or is that?
It's a matter of opinion. There is no rule. It's just if you want to join them, slap an ultra rainbow name on it.
It's a tax, is it? It's just a rainbow tax, basically.
Yeah, I mean, people can make their own judgment of whether it's got enough colours to consist of being a rainbow, but it's just, again, it's a sales tactic, really. It is.
Yeah.
So I can go back to that person on my YouTube and then say that, can
I? Of course. Definitely.
It's not got enough colours to be a rainbow. I was like, all right, I don't really know, to be honest.
No, it can have as few or as little. If it's got really contrasting colours, you call it rainbow if you want to. If they're very similar colours, then it's, for me, personally, I wouldn't go to call it a rainbow.
So it's personal judgment rather than a set criteria.
There is no rule. There's no set. Nobody's come out and said it has to have this many colours to be a rainbow. It's just a matter of opinion.
It's I think definitely a marketing ploy to put extra on
one that we don't use.
Yeah, actually, I've never noticed you marketing things as rainbow, but a lot of people do, don't they?
No, we do say neon. I don't think we've ever used ultra. That obvious toxic green stuff, because it is the common name by that point. Rainbows always, because they are already called rainbows. That's how they're known. You call them rainbow. We won't ever get a coral in with a few colours on and slap a rainbow tag on it.
Yeah, but it's like when you see on the torches like 24 karat. What 24? It's not because it's still.
Unfortunately, it is how they become known, so it's easier to identify certain things if it's stuck to that coral.
But it's not pure gold. It's not pure gold. It's got 2 colours in it, so it can't be 24 karat. Do you know what I mean? So it's like they just name it what they want to name it, and then us as reefers say, "I want that 24 karat one." You know what I mean? And that's the way it is. That's what you do. Like 24 karat. Yeah, I like that one.
That was good for Jay. Jay going to count the colours on his net.
I'm laughing more at Practical Reefers. Do you watch that? Do you watch that film after Breakback Mountain or whatever it's called? The other film.
What, 4 Shades of Brown?
4 Shades of Brown. That's horrendous.
I tell you what, Jay, you asked the wrong question.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get it back in all kinds of barrels based on what you say.
No, just people say things and I'm like, is that actually fact or is that fiction? So I don't really know, but yeah.
I think most of it has evolved because if I go back...
Oh, shit, it's 50. I don't think brown is on a rainbow anyway, so I don't think
dark brown, light brown, khaki, beige. Is that your spectrum that you look at?
You not got brown on your rainbow chalice, have you?
Not yet. No, it's here. Look, It's not. I've just found out it's not a rainbow because it's only got 3 colours.
If you got brown on it, that would be it. It'd be all over.
It's only red, green, and blue. So that's it. It's not a rainbow. I've been missing. Am I joking?
Have you not got orange on yours?
I've got a bit of, I've got a little bit of orange tea. Don't you worry. I don't want you thinking yours is better than mine.
It's not better. It's not better.
No,
I think we've lost Dom, haven't we?
I think we have.
We're still here. I think the cameras just.
I didn't pay that £1,200 electric bill, and now I know.
What is this speed tonight? The internet's shocking on it. I was going to ask another.
Working fine. I've run out of batteries in my camera.
Oh, is that? I was going to ask another one. I keep getting stuff, and I don't know if it's true. Can you ever keep an Aussie gold torch?
We covered this earlier on, but I'll let the guys answer.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
There is people that have done it, but they are notoriously harder to keep. I don't know. Nobody really knows why. I think temperature again has come into it for that particular one. But yeah, they are harder to keep by people's experience. I've never personally tried to keep one. We've had success with them in the display tank for longish periods. I'd say 6 months plus before we sold them.
That's
but
pretty good.
long term, I've never done it over a year or so.
You don't see many people fragging them and selling the frags from home, so it would be an indicator that they don't do that well long term. I know some people have managed to grow them out, but like I said, it's not like all the Indo torches, and a lot of people do tend to frag them and sell them from home or whatever. They seem to do a lot better and grow faster. The Indo ones do tend to grow faster.
Yeah. Has anybody in the chat had a gold torch for a long period of time, like 2 years plus? I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, we'll come back. So I just got a quick question here. So someone's MB Reefing thinking of getting peppermint shrimp to sort my taser outbreak, but worries if my cleaner shrimp will kill them. Is this likely?
No, they should be fine together. It'd be very uncommon for them to attack another type of shrimp. Unless the tank's tiny and they're struggling for food, I don't think they've had any reason to go for peppermints.
I know we spoke about this the other day in our little chat, but I think peppermint shrimp are brilliant cleanup crew.
Yeah.
They are. You just have to be careful with certain corals like acans and whatnot.
Yeah. I've got 2 peppermint shrimps, a cleaner shrimp, and now I've got that Harlequin shrimp. So they're having a nice little party. They all seem to be getting on. They do their own thing, and I've not seen it. They're still all out alive. So
and I must admit, I've said before, I wouldn't have a tank without a peppermint shrimp in it, because the chances of getting aptasia when you bring in something in is quite high if you keep a tank.
They've always worked really well for me. The only thing I've ever found them to go for, and in almost all cases, is acans. Unfortunately, they seem to have a taste for acans.
Yeah. Do you have a tank at home, or is it too much in the shop?
Not currently. It's been, I think it was just before COVID that I shut my last tank down. I'm getting the itch a little bit again, but I spend all day around them here, so I'll get my fix. I'm not going without.
It's good for me. That means there's no staff discount.
So there's another one. Sorry, just going through some comments here. Another one here. When you take in a mariculture shipment, do they come with a list of what the names are, and they've got your kind of zippy names?
Again, it's because of the internet and because of us giving them fancy names, suppliers now do try to do that so they can charge more for them. They used to all just come in as generalized things, but the odd thing now is coming in with a fancy name, and unfortunately it's got a price tag attached to it as well, inflated. All the suppliers can see our groups, even the people growing it abroad in Indonesia and whatnot, you see, and they're joining these groups and seeing how much people are fragging and selling this stuff for and naming it. And they're thinking, why can't I take a chunk of that as well?
Yeah.
So it goes expensive from the source, and it just gets passed down the line.
Yeah. I was trying to think, when did names become a thing? Because I know when I started in the hobby, it was only, 7 years ago. I can't remember all those kind of flashy names. I remember like
It was
Xenia and stuff
handy.
like that.
It was handy for certain things like Zoas, where there was so many different varieties and colours to get a grip. But even now they're renaming the same ones, and they kind of go through cycles just to reinflate the price. So something I knew as something 2 or 3 years ago now has a new name and a new price tag.
Well, they say it's a morph of an Utter Chaos. And Utter Chaos used to be really expensive years ago, didn't it? And
Well, there's been
should be
Ultimate
cheap as
Chaos
chips.
and a few other variations of Utter Chaos now, and it's the conditions are kept in. Some of them are nicer than others, but
Yeah. And then we've got another question here around removing Vermitige snails. So someone's tried bumblebees, glue, etc., had no success in removing them. Anything else that gets rid of them?
Jet wash works best. Take your rock out and jet wash it.
they are a pain. I've found the best way is if you can get a variety of wrasse to eat them, but they won't all do it. We had success with the dusky wrasse. Bumblebees, I think, are very slow, and it's not the preferred food, so I don't think they directly attack them. Some people have great success with them. We personally haven't, but like I say, I've watched a dusky wrasse go at them. If you can get a decent wrasse to eat them, that's always the way forward. Unfortunately, the ones that eat stuff like that can also usually turn and start eating your cleanup crew as well, so it's a trade-off.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, you know you're talking about names and stuff like that, right? I've got a coral that you haven't got at the moment. Right, I'm going to show you what it is. Here you go.
You haven't.
So I've got a bungle tenuous. That's what I've got. You remember bungle off Rainbow? That big brown stick.
Zippy and George. Remember him, Zippy and George?
Where did that come from?
Because everything's about my brown stick, so I thought it needs a name, so it's going to be called Bungle Terrier.
So all your brown sticks are now bungle.
The fancy name. Every coral's got to have a fancy name. There you go, Bungle Terrier.
Hey, fair play, mate.
I like
Fair
your
play to
frag. Ross can have a frag as well when it's grown out.
It's way before my time, mate. I don't even know what bungle is.
You
Oh, come on.
Oh.
Everybody knows who he is. Everyone.
Zippy and
Rainbow.
George.
It was
What?
Rainbow, Bungle, Zippy and George.
Ross, are you
I've heard of
serious?
it, but it's before my time, that, mate.
Oh, my
Oh,
God. You're making me
God.
feel old now. I thought we were all about the same age that we'd have known what rainbow is, but
Yeah.
I thought rainbow, obviously, it's not enough colours. But yeah, there you go. It's not a brown stick anymore.
Yeah. Someone's saying about when you get vermited snails, time to start again.
Yeah.
When they get out of control, you can control them to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's so hard to avoid them though nowadays. Really, really hard to avoid them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you've missed out. You need to watch it on YouTube or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he'll go and find it now, and he'll be hooked. Come back next week with what you found.
Just be careful searching for bungle on YouTube.
Yeah, I was thinking that you probably need to be quite careful on there, wouldn't you?
Anything could pop up, literally.
Mm.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
Fancy
God.
name.
Right,
They're
so
just- Sorry.
Sorry, there's some comments about Zoas. Haley earlier on, just looking at the different colours. I've got to say the names on Zoas is quite useful because just the range of ones that you
Because there's
you get.
50 to 100 pink zoas, same for red zoas. So to identify them, it does come in handy.
Yeah, and they go in that fashion. I remember about 3 years ago, they seem to be really, really popular. And there's some really expensive ones. I mean, there's still some expensive ones today, but you don't see as many around as you used to. That was like 250, 400.
Yeah, a piece of advice though is even if you think you've got one that nobody wants, keep hold of it because zoas in themselves tend to go in and out of fashion. There's some that were easy to get before, and now you can't get them anymore. And because people saw them grow like weeds, so they got rid of them. They didn't want them, and now the high-end ones are more common, and some of the ones that were easy to get,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's things like Restas. They used to be, and Utter Chaos used to be really expensive, but Now they're fairly. I mean, someone said the other day to me that rusted was quite rare, but I haven't seen that unless it's in certain.
Some people struggle to keep them, I think, so it does keep them a little rarer.
Yeah, because they're smaller polyps, aren't they? Whereas Atacchaeus,
the original ones, there's a couple of types of rasters, and one's a big polyp one, which is easier to keep, but the original smaller headed one seems to be a little bit more difficult.
So see, for example, when you guys order a box of corals in, and say you're going to order a box of zoas, for example, you obviously won't sit and pick all the individual zoas. Do you just order a box of, say, 20 plugs of zoas and take what you get, or do you order specific ones?
One of the farms that we use now does have them named, but we'll just pick a selection. And when you do get lucky, some of these that go for a fortune, we'll just sell the plugs all the same price and you get some absolute bargains.
Yeah.
But we very rarely order them by name. The ones that come from the big distribution centres like TMC very rarely will have any name at all. They'll just be wild rocks.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get some really colourful ones like Sunny D's. They're one of my favourites as well. They're really hardy. They've got really big polyps on them, and I think they make any tank look fantastic. And they're great for new tanks as well, I find.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pink zippers on that. There's so many nice ones out there, especially if you can get the contrasting colours next to one another. It really does get your tank to pop.
I like his acans, Dr. What is it? Welsh Magic. If they're his acans, they look really nice on the picture. On his, there you go, his thumbnail.
Yeah.
Pink zippers are zoas. Well, they usually are, I think. Fire and
ice.
Yeah.
Fire and ice are nice, yeah. They're nice as well. They're small.
Right, let's go and see, find some other comments while you guys are moving. There's something else about the Vermitige snails as well. And just remove the rock from main display. Separate tank. Raised temp, reduction of calcium, bingo, all vanished. Okay. I think if you can remove the rock, then I would just remove the rock. I would either dump it and replace it, because I think to try and find all of them, because when they start, they're so small, aren't they? To try and get, it's almost an improbable task, I would say, on that. But they are. But do you think they actually damage the tank?
I think certain corals don't like the feeding web that they kick out. When you feed broadcast feed in particular, you'll notice it. If you feed reefroids or something like that, they spit a web out, and certain corals get irritated by it. Definitely.
Yeah. See, I have them in my. Hundreds and hundreds of them in mine, and I've got a lot of them in my sump. But when they get to a certain size, like when the opening gets to a certain size, I'll just get some of the actual coral glue, and I actually just block it off. Block the entrance.
It's a good way of controlling them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the bigger ones. I just block them off with a glue, and they're usually okay. Well, obviously they'll die, won't they? So, but the smaller ones, they don't really seem to bother the corals. It's just the larger ones that do.
It depends on how badly. Some people suffer with a massive explosion and end up with like hundreds, thousands. So when all them kick out webs at once, it's a nightmare. I think if you've only got the odd one big one, I think you've got something on the sly controlling the numbers.
Yeah.
They're a real pain. They are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to bring up, Carl, I'll see you tomorrow at AAC. I don't know if Woody's going as well. I'll be there about 11, half 11. Yeah, they are. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, if you are still watching, can you give us a thumbs up for Paul for hosting, and a big thumbs up for Kraken Corals giving up their evening tonight just to chat to us all. The show was brilliant. What time's the shop open tomorrow and over the weekends, Tom?
10 o'clock, 10 till 6 tomorrow.
10 till 4 on Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you for making us really welcome at Krakna. I really enjoyed it, mate. I loved it.
Absolutely.
I'll be back
You'll get treated this time. There's no special treatment.
Can we have your tea bags though next time?
Oh, that's all right.
Can we have your tea bags next time?
All right.
Although I'm going to throw out there, I'm quite fussy with coffee, and the coffee was good, so I'll give you that one. That was a good one.
We have to do it a little bit weaker, or else we'd all be wired all day long.
I must admit, I missed that playing on the arcade game. What was the?
Oh yeah, that looked cool.
There's thousands of games on there. You could have played anything you wanted.
We're too busy.
That did look really cool.
It's gone now. It's gone. It's gone out the shop. It's back in my office.
Really does always work.
Give them hard up Friday afternoons when I'm busy in the office.
And thank you for doing an amazing job with your store. I mean, it's Amazon delivery, isn't it? Basically, Kraken's like Amazon. For
If you order on a Friday, you're not getting it on Saturday unless you pay for Saturday delivery, no matter how many times you think you are.
Or if it's out of stock, or if you ordered after the courier's been. We can't work miracles. As much as we'd like to hand deliver parcels, there is certain restrictions, but we do try to get stuff fast because we're all impatient.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I always get the cheap. Well, you won't believe this, but I always get the cheapest delivery, and it always arrives the following day.
You can't be telling people that.
And it always arrives the following day, so I'm like, I'm happy with that. That's awesome.
To be fair, even mine's arrives the following day. I've always had pretty much next day delivery for Kraken, and I'm at the end of the country, so it works really well.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You're smashing it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've got to say, it is next day. I've got brilliant service in terms of next day delivery and stuff like that. So it's one of the best shops around. I'm obviously on the other end of the country, but if I'm ordering online, then I go to you guys. And I know quite a few people have talked on here before about the service they get from you. So fair play. It's not easy running a shop. It's not easy dealing with the general public like us either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we try our best, and as long as the majority are happy, we're doing something right.
That's all you can do. You're not going to keep everyone happy all the time, are they? That's just the way life is.
Mistakes happen sometimes, and sometimes they're out of our hands. Sometimes it's just human error, but it's very rare. And most people, thankfully, 99%, I'd say, are happy with the service.
Yeah. And so, have you ordered your nitrate powder yet already? Have you been on?
I'm going to order it now, mate. I'm putting an order in.
Get in there.
I need one, definitely.
Right, so we've been told by Julie that our time's up, as usual. So first of all, thank you for the guys from Kraken Corals for not only last week but also for coming up today. I know you've had a long day, so I appreciate you coming up on here for 2 hours. Thank you for everyone watching as usual. We're still amazed. We've had over 60 people on today, tonight, and that's mostly down to the guys from Kraken being on. But thank you anyway for continuing to watch and support us. Next week, are we on Ross's channel, aren't we, Ross? We're back with you next week. So over on the Bearded Reef. So thank you very much. Have a great reefing weekend or whatever you're doing. And hopefully we'll catch you next weekend. So bye all, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining.
Cheers. Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.